Left 4 Dead has been around a good old while now, and as such, the community has developed a bunch of rules which every player is expected to live by. They're not difficult to follow, but nobody tells you what they are, they just kick you from the game for it instead, so you won't learn until you've made the mistake over and over again. And if you are breaking these rules, you make it very apparent to more experienced players that you are less experienced or a newer player because you're making these mistakes constantly. And that will very often lead to you being kicked out the game. So allow me to get you up to speed on the 5 unwritten rules of Left 4 Dead Versus. Rule number 1. RNR 1 AFK plus 2. No, this is not the name of Elon Musk's latest child. These are the abbreviations people use at the start of a round to tell each other whether their team is ready or not. All in the interest of playing a decent, fair game. So, when you see Hank J. Wimbledon saying R, that's him telling you that his team is ready to play the round, and he's asking if your team is ready as well. Jumbo Chicken replies with an R saying that his team is ready. Now you start the round. If both teams haven't said R, then the special infected shouldn't attack and the survivors shouldn't leave the safe room. Because believe it or not, most players actually just want to play a fun, decent game of Left 4 Dead 4v4, because anything less is usually not that great because bots are kinda rubbish. If it's currently a 3v3 and everyone's bored of waiting around, you can sometimes go as a 3v3 and hope that the lobby fills up, which it usually does pretty quick. If your team isn't ready though, you may want to type NR, which stands for, of course, not ready, because somebody is not ready. Maybe they're AFK, maybe they've just gone to the toilet, maybe they've just joined the game and their special infected life hasn't loaded in yet, or perhaps they don't even have a full team. So use NR to say that you're not ready to start the round and watch out for the other team doing the same. Wait for the Rs. The only exception to this rule is if one team says R and the other team just doesn't respond or say anything, then you're free to go because, well, you can't sit there forever. If the other team's not going to make the effort to say R or NR, then just go. You may also have somebody who's AFK, and you may just want to communicate that by, instead of saying NR, you could say 1 AFK, 2 AFK, whatever. Of course, we all know what AFK means. You can usually tell if a player is AFK because they won't be moving. If you're on survivors, they probably won't have picked up their medkit yet. And it's up to you whether you want to wait for them to return, or of course, you might have to boot them out. You may also see people type +1 or +2 or +3. This is our way of saying, let's wait for X amount more players. 1 player, 2 player, 3 players, to try and even the game out. People will only want to play a 4v4 or maybe a 3v3. Anything less is just not good. 2v2, no good. You'll probably be best off waiting. So hopefully you understand all the pre-game lingo now, and that you need to wait for the R before you leave the safe room. Otherwise, you end up with things like this happening and somebody ruins a game. Don't be this guy. We've got an AFK player, so they should wait for us. But this guy is just charging off by himself, proving that he's truly unworthy of his own name, gentleman, so we shall rename him Mr. Fucking Clownshoe. I wait around, assuming the rest of his team won't be so silly, but I am wrong. They should have just kicked this guy out, and we could have restarted the round if we really needed to. But of course, Mr. Fucking Clownshoe has run on ahead, gets himself charged off the building, dies, and then leaves the game. Truly earning the name Mr. Fucking Clownshoe. So I have to tell these children that we need to restart and ready so that we can play the game properly. Because guess what? We'll all actually enjoy the game more if we have a good competitive game of 4 players versus 4 players, rather than one team having to put up with a player that kills himself basically so he can play infected sooner probably. Wait for both teams to be ready. I guarantee you, you'll enjoy the game more. Don't be like Mr. Fucking Clownshoe. So, just to reiterate and make sure I hammer this point home, wait for at least one person on both teams to say R before you play a round. This is pretty common to go out the window when the game goes on sale and they get loads of new players come in. It can be very difficult to find a decent game because so many people just run out when other teams aren't ready, and then other people get annoyed and everyone starts leaving because the game isn't fair or fun. The best games of Left 4 Dead are honestly those where you get 4 players versus 4 players for the entire campaign, and it pretty much stays as the same players. Everyone knows roughly what they're doing. These games are so rare but so good when they do happen, and it all starts with readying at the start of a round so that it all stays fair. And if your team or the other team has a griefer, somebody that kills themselves just to be a dick and ruin the game, just restart, even if it's on the enemy team. Because if you don't, there's a good chance that the enemy team will all leave and then the game will be over anyway. So you might as well just restart and play properly so you can play a decent game of Left 4 Dead. Rule number 2. Share the meds. A big common mistake of newer players is that they think that the meds that they're carrying, whether that's a medkit or pills, whatever, is theirs personally to use, when in fact it's the team's pills, the team's medkits that you're carrying. You give it to whoever needs it when they need it, because your team's survival is your survival. If they go down, you go down. So keeping them up is in your best interest. So when one of your teammates gets low on health and you're carrying pills or a medkit, you'll be expected to give it to the person who needs it rather than hogging it for yourself because you're so good at the game and special. Now, if you've seen my survivor's guide, you'll know that using your medkit too early is a big no-no. So when you have someone who's low on health like myself here, I could just use my medkit to heal up, right? But Lewis has some pills, and those could boost me up and stop me having to use my medkit yet. I would expect him to notice this and give me those pills without me having to ask. But I have had to ask, and he still hasn't given me the pills, and now there's a tank going to be coming, and I'm in trouble. So I'm actually going to have to use my health kit when I've just been boomed on. But thankfully, just in the nick of time, Lewis does give me the pills, and it's all good. But the unwritten rule here is that I shouldn't have to ask for those pills. He should have the awareness to notice that I'm low on health and that I'm going to have to waste my medkit unless he gives me those pills. So understand you will be expected to give your meds to other people when they need them and to try and save those medkits. Because that medkit that I don't use on myself, I might be able to use on Lewis later in that situation just now. My wellness is his wellness. If I die, he's probably going to die. We're all in it together, right? So be sure to make use of your meds, but don't hog them. Give them to the team when they need them because it ultimately will help you out in the long run. And again, this is something you will get kicked for if you just hog all the meds and use them all for yourself when you've got a teammate dying next to you. You are going to be frowned upon and very likely booted out the game. Rule number 3. Be aware of insta-kills. So there are many parts in all Left 4 Dead campaigns where you can be instantly killed and taken out of the game as survivors, or at least instantly incapped and downed, possibly causing all kinds of problems for you and your team. As a survivor, you'll be expected to know where these are and to do your best to avoid them and not get caught in an insta-kill. And as a special infected, you'll be expected to go for these insta-kills and to try and get them on the survivors. This is mostly a game of map knowledge, which you're not really going to know if you're new until you've experienced them a bunch, had them happen to you, or somebody tells you about them. So you just have to try and pay attention and learn where they are as you go. Here's a pretty common example on the finale of No Mercy. On the roof, just before you leave the starting area, it's a pretty common insta-kill where a smoker and a charger will work together on the roof. The smoker grabs somebody to line them up for the charger, and then the charger just charges them, grabs them, takes them off the roof of the skyscraper to their death. I can see that ready to happen here, so I'm just poking my head out the ladder, trying to set the smoker off, which we do, which gives us a second to nip out and take him out, which we do, but our teammate is not so savvy and has got himself charged anyway. But you can see the point here. I was aware, and I think my teammates were aware of this insta-kill. The infected were aware of this insta-kill. They went for it. They got lucky on this occasion. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but everyone was aware of it. So if you're playing the infected that can get the insta-kill or that can help with the insta-kill, you will be expected to go for it or to help set up the insta-kill. Like here on the top of Hard Rain, I'm playing as a jockey. I can't get an insta-kill myself really, but I can try and help the charger get one. So I'm just going to dive in and try to hold somebody in front of this open section where the charger can come through, and indeed he does. Take somebody with him, knock somebody else down. A nice bit of teamwork. That was nice. To be honest, this only really applies to chargers, smokers, and jockeys, as they're the ones that can either set up the insta-kill, or of course the charger is the main offender of insta-kills. So if you get one of those special infected around these insta-kill areas where you might be able to get the insta-kill or help, you should really be going for the insta-kill. Here's a fella who clearly doesn't know about the insta-kills. He's playing Charger on the very first level of Dead Center, which most people will know. There's a lot of windows that lead to death, and if you charge somebody out of them, that's game over for somebody. But this Charger doesn't know what the hell he's doing. He's charged in right at the very start, missed his charge anyway, and ultimately wastes his Charger life and misses the opportunity for our team to get that insta-kill. This, unfortunately, for newer players, is a thing that will get you kicked, but if you don't know what the insta-kill is, you can always ask and maybe somebody will tell you. As survivors, you just need to try and be aware of these areas and be very careful when you do go near that insta-kill. Try not to get caught. You might get set up and then charged. You might just get instantly charged, but as long as you're careful, you'll decrease the chances of that happening. If you just run around like a silly idiot in front of insta-kill areas and get yourself killed, that'll be another thing that might lead to you getting kicked out the game. So be aware of insta-kills whichever side you're playing on, and don't be afraid to go for the insta-kills if you're infected, because the only way you'll get better at them is by practicing them. Don't be afraid and worried about messing it up and having somebody shout at you because you messed it up, because most of the time, as long as you attempt an insta-kill, most people are okay with that. As long as you attempt it and you try, even if you fuck it up, most people will be fairly forgiving. But if you don't even try and waste the opportunity and waste the life, that's what people don't like, and that's what people will kick you out for. Rule number 4, work together. This might seem like a dreadfully obvious one, but it's amazing the amount of people that you don't see working together on survivors and infected. And this is probably more of a problem on infected, when you get players like this who dive into healthy survivors by themselves, get instantly killed and do absolutely nothing because they attacked alone. So you have to remind people to attack together. Because in most cases, the special infected are always better off attacking all together at the same time. All 4 of you if possible. 3's fine as well, maybe 2 depending on the situation, but you should never really attack alone unless you see an opportunity to make a big play by yourself. Always keep an eye on the special infected timers to see when your special buddies will be coming back. Attacking alone really doesn't get you very far very often. However, there are exceptions, like here, where there's a straggler of the survivors all by himself. He's been left behind, nobody's covering him. That is a prime opportunity for me as a jockey to grab him and take him away for some fun times. So in these situations, it's okay to attack alone because you can make something happen. But if you're a single infected diving into 3 or 4 survivors by yourself, you're probably not going to do a lot, unless maybe you're a charger, going for an insta-kill and things like that. These are the only times it's okay to attack alone. And with the survivors, you of course need to stick together so that you can cover each other. If you get grabbed, you can save each other. If you stray too far, things start to go wrong. So if you're rushing on ahead, turn around once in a while. Check on your teammates. Are they keeping up? Have they got zombies all over them? Is there a special infected chasing them or on them? You need to help. Stay close to your teammates so you can help at all times. Anyone who rushes off too far ahead, like Mr. fucking Clownshoe earlier, is liable to ruin the game for the team. I honestly can't express enough how important it is to just turn around once in a while. So many players only look forward, they only run forward, just worrying about themselves, just hoping that their teammates will be okay, when you could in fact just turn around and check on your teammates to see if they're okay. You don't need to worry about yourself so much when you've got 3 other people worrying about you instead. A team of 4 survivors all looking out for each other can be damn near unstoppable if played well. So put your ego aside and put your faith in the team. Some players will carry and some players will need a degree of carrying, but every survivor will do well as long as you look out for each other. And the same is true of infected, although not quite in the same way, of course. You don't need to keep each other alive, but you can keep an eye on their silhouettes. What does it look like they're about to do? Can you combo up with that in some way? Maximize the damage. Pay attention to your infected buddies so you can synergize multiple attacks. The special infected players that always attack alone by themselves and the survivors that run off by themselves are liable to get a swift kicking. Rule number 5. Stay alert for events. This honestly is a very similar point to the third point of staying alert for insta-kills, but it's just with the events throughout a campaign. Witches, tanks, car alarms, set pieces like the No Mercy Hospital elevator, All these things you should try to take advantage of to maximize your damage on the survivors. And if you're the survivors, you of course want to try and avoid these things as much as possible. Witches are a prime example of all this, as they can do potentially absolutely nothing if they just get instantly killed by the survivors. They can do a little bit if you set them off and manage to down somebody, or they can be game ending with a well executed special infected attack at the same time. So it's really down to the special infected. If you see a witch ahead, you should probably wait and save your life. Don't spawn yet. Wait for them to go near the witch. Try to set her off. Try to mess them up. Get the boom on them. Get some spit down everywhere. Do whatever you can to help that witch be a massive problem for the survivors. In this case, the enemy team couldn't quite do enough to stop us. They got me down, but I'm back up now, and this is a short level anyway, so we're fine. But if you see here, we're waiting for the witch to go off. Someone sets the witch off. She goes charging in. I smoke somebody. There's a charger. There's a spitter coming in. Everything's coming together, and that's a GG. So be sure to save your infected life and try to set off that witch. Work with the witch, because it can do some serious damage. And then, of course, there's the big boy, the tank. This is the most crucial one not to waste. If you mess up a tank really badly and charge in like an idiot and just get it killed without doing anything, you will likely get kicked out the game. I'm not going to go into this too much because I have an entire guide on how to play the tank, which I will link at the end of this video, but as long as you follow the rules of that video, you should be okay. Again, much like the witch, a tank can do absolutely nothing if played badly, or do absolutely everything and finish the game if played well. The main thing is not to attack when it doesn't look like a good idea, and to try and get them when they're distracted, low on health, or stuck in a tight space. Don't follow your instinct to charge in and play like a tank looks like it should play. Use your head. Stop, look, think, watch out for Molotovs, and you should be okay. Like I said, guide at the end of this video in a minute. If you're the survivors, you should be ready for these areas. You know when the witch is coming, you can hear her. You know when the tank is coming, so you get some time to prepare. There's really no excuse for making silly mistakes with these things, as long as everyone's on the same page and knows what they're doing. And then there's things like car alarms that can be set off, which are useful but not essential. They certainly help though if you can set them off. And then the triggered events throughout the campaigns. Good to try and save your infected lives for those. And as survivors, be prepared for a big attack from infected when that event starts. Again, this is a degree of map knowledge of getting to know the campaigns and what happens and where, as well as being ready for the variables like tanks and witches. So there you go, the 5 unwritten rules of Left 4 Dead 2. Some of this stuff has been covered in my other 4 guides for Left 4 Dead as well, so I might just be reinforcing some points to people who have seen those, but hopefully it hammers it all home. If you haven't seen any of those, here they all are. Check them out to get better at Left 4 Dead. I hope you've enjoyed this. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the future.